So, I want to build something today, and I wasn't entirely sure what I wanted to do. And then I remembered this material, which I'm sure to a lot of people doesn't look like much, but this is what I took off of the bed that I refinished for Avery. These were pieced together in rails, and they were not really straight and very lined up, and I replaced them. But I really like the saw marks on the end of this, and I couldn't quite bring myself to get rid of it. So what I decided to do instead was to try to make kind of an open box, something that could just be a simple place to hold some items and enjoy the quality of the wood and the memory of what it comes from. So what I was thinking was doing something pretty simple, where I just do a simple box, something like this from the top, where it has sides, two sides longer than the other, so that we end up making a square. The width of this material, I think these 4 pieces are what I'm going to use for the sides. The width of these pieces hovering right around 1 inch, and they're right around 2 feet long. And my thought is that I would like to show it from the side, get the saw marks, and I've got around 23 inches. So I thought that with cuts, that gives me about 22 inches worth of material or so. So 11 inches to make a long and a short side. So I couldn't quite figure out exactly what I wanted to do for the sides. But I realized that if I had a side length of X, and this would be X plus 2, figuring the width of this being 1 inch. So if for these 2 sides together, I have about 11 inches, that would be X plus 2 plus X is 11. So taking out the 2 on both sides, that would mean that 2x is equal to 9, making x 4.5 inches. So if x is 4.5 inches, then x plus 2 would be 6.5 inches. While I certainly don't use algebra in my everyday life, sometimes it comes in pretty handy when you have a constraint, like the length of a piece of wood, and you're trying to figure out what measurements you can use to fit within those parameters and still get something like a approximate square. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 4 pieces, and I want the ends to be these pieces here, so that we can see a little bit of that uncut grain at the end. Obviously the other side will be cut, but I'm going to try to arrange it in that way, and so it looks like I'm going to have 8 pieces at 6.5 inches and 8 pieces at 4.5 inches, and that'll give me basically a stack 4 pieces long, give me a height right around 3 inches or so. And I think I might use this for the bottom. Let's see if I can make that work. All right, let's see what we can do. Well, that was pretty easy. I have a tendency to make my crosscuts on the miter saw station. I just feel very comfortable with it, and frankly I had that set up long before I made the table saw sled. But those crosscuts were really nice, and they're very clean with the way the crosscut sled has just the width of a kerf behind it, whereas on the miter saw there's a large opening. So this works out really nicely. So let me see what this is starting to look like.
In pairs, so something like this. That's what I'm looking for, and I'll arrange them so that I've got saw marks that I like on the outside.
I'm gonna fiddle with this, play with where I want things, and start assembling. This is it. That's all I had for waste. One of the challenges with working with reclaimed wood is that sizes can be off. What originally appeared to be 4 equal width pieces turns out to be that there's one piece that was a little wider than the rest. You can kind of see that piece on my thumb side is just a bit bigger, and that happened in a couple of places. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place those toward the bottom of the stack, and I do not have a jointer or a planer, so I'm going to take a little bit off on the table saw and see how that works out. There are always going to be problems. Can you find a solution to your problems? All right, this is starting to come together. Before I try to start assembling anything, I'm going to take this other piece that I had and run it through at the same 4.5 inches. That way I can kind of fill in the base of this, and I'll start by gluing up everything in the bottom, and then I'll build off of that. It's one of those times where when working with reclaimed wood, it would be a whole lot easier to take just a solid flat piece of plywood or something and build up. But we go through all this work to work with the reclaimed things, and it's hard to go to something that's a new piece. So I'm going to use this, fill in the bottom, and build up from there. So 4.5 inches, series of these, fill in the bottom, take off the top 3 layers, glue and assemble the top, and probably leave it there for tonight. It's almost time to start making dinner, feed the kids, feed everybody, and this can wait. All right, let's cut. Well, this isn't perfect, but perfect isn't really my style. I really enjoy the process of creating something and what I learn along the way. If there are some imperfections, I sort of can deal with that. I talked about the downside of working with reclaimed wood, but the upside is just that. It's almost by its very nature forgiving. So what I'm gonna do is ease some of the edges, give this a real light sand, and I think I'm gonna call it quits for now. And I'm gonna consider if I want to put anything on this stain wise, but I'm not sure. I think that I'm gonna let it just sit for a little bit and maybe bring it upstairs and see what strikes me. And you know, I'm looking at it and I can see the original box idea, but the spacing on the bottom here sort of makes me think plant stand. I don't love the way the bottom looks. If I had it to do over again, I might choose pieces that I would face the better side this direction. That way it could be a little more versatile and be able to flip it over. But let me see what happens with this. Like I said, I'm just going to ease the edges and think about this for a little bit. Hello.
Hi.
Hey. Wanna come see what I'm making? Hi, hi, hi.
What are you making?
I used the pieces that we took off of Avery's bed, strips that were not straight, and cut them up and made sort of like a little box out of it.
It's like a jewelry box.
Like a jewelry box? Come here, you want to sit on my lap? You can hold it like right. Well, what do you think it could be used for?
Maybe some jewelry.
Oh, jewelry?
Well, I feel this is just like my bed.
Well, we sanded it so it's a little bit smoother, but you know what I kind of like? Look at the sides. Do you see those curvy cuts?
Yeah.
Those are from when they cut the wood. That's those are saw marks. What I'm debating, and I'm glad you guys came down here, is like whitewashing it.
They want to paint it.
I like it how it is.
Do you like it the way it is? I kind of like it the way it is.
You want to paint it.
I want to paint it? Is that what you think?
You have to paint it.
Like what color? Blue. You know what I was thinking though? If I paint it or stain it, it might cover up these nice saw marks, which was sort of my reason for doing this. So you like it for a jewelry box. What do you like it for, Riley? You know what? Jewelry box. You know what I thought about? Flip it over like this and put a plant on it.
Oh, that's cute.
I don't know. I make it, you guys figure out what to do with it.
Put more succulents.
And then look, there's even a crack in one of the pieces.
Yep, well, what I was saying on the video was that when you work with reclaimed wood, it's kind of imperfect. That's okay, right? Can you live with that? Just talking about this. All right, well, it sounds like 2 votes for
Jewelry box.
leave it. 2 votes for jewelry box. 2 votes for leaving it unfinished. 1 vote for painting it blue. This very well may just live like this for a little while, and we'll see what we like it for, and maybe somebody will decide that it's great for a certain space, and that might dictate doing something finish-wise, color-wise. So in the meantime, you say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Vloggy. Bye, Daddy.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe.
Jewelry box.